Good Friday morning, everybody. This is Grace, and today I'm going to talk about my experience with Hormone Hell. Yeah, that's what it was called back then. Basically, it starts off that I'll start off in 1998, I think, and the doctor I was seeing at the time, she put me on first a medication for hypothyroidism, which I didn't have. It was a supplement also, and she also put me on one for insulin resistance. Well, that was total wrong one, and it caused me to want to eat everything in sight, especially cookies, uh, anything carbohydrates. So I got off of that one, and I just refused. I wasn't going to take anything else, but she'd given me a prescription for another medication, glucophage. And I was just so upset because of what had happened before. I didn't want to take it. But then a friend of mine came over, and she had a Cosmopolitan magazine, and there was an article in it. She says, "You got to read this. It sounds so much like you." And I think the title was Hormone Hell. And I read it, and it did sound a lot like me. I had been diagnosed, they called it anovulation back then. And I always had, always. And so I read it, and it was like, yeah, that's me, and all the mood swings and so many things. So on the back of it, I read that it said metformin. Well, little did I know until I researched it online that metformin is a generic for glucophage. So I was separated from Adam at the time. He was living in California. I was living in Texas, and he had decided he wanted to come back for a visit or something. And then I decided, I was working a temporary job, and I decided, we both decided I would go back with him to California. So I packed up and, whatever went. I wasn't going to stay for long, but the drive there was something else. And so I decided to stay. I wound up staying for 7 months, and I told him that I'm going to get on this medication, this metformin. It was the brand, glucophage. And I wanted him, somebody to be with me because I was living alone at the time. For somebody to be with me to see, what they saw. And so the doctor also put me on progesterone withdrawal. Okay, so I had all these things going on. So when I went there, I was doing the progesterone withdrawal, and I started taking the metformin. Well, all of a sudden, I didn't need the progesterone withdrawal, so I stopped taking it. I was just totally amazed. Metformin, glucophage, had just like transformed everything. Well, another thing was also, before I left Texas, before my friend had shown me that article, I had been reading about, reading about PCOS on what they call back then listservs. You can call them like groups now, usually on Facebook. And I had been reading, women had talked about their symptoms, and they were just like mine. And it was for PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I hadn't been tested for it or anything. That didn't happen until years later when I was already on metformin, and it said that they couldn't rule it out. But that was all the results said. But anyway, so I had been reading about this, all the symptoms and everything, and I said, that's me. That's so me. So once I moved to California, started taking metformin, glucophage, all those symptoms just started going away, one after another. And another thing, a benefit to it was before then, I used to have panic attacks. I had it so bad twice in my life, once when I was 28 and once when I was 33, that I actually suffered from, it's called agoraphobia, but a lot of people call it agoraphobia, and I've heard it pronounced more than those two ways. So, but it's when you basically don't want to leave your home, and so all these things just started going away. My skin problems, the way I looked more feminine, and my hair started being better. My mood started being, improving, and attitude all around. And I was more. I wasn't. I've always been very logical, extremely logical, analytical, and not too emotional, except for when those major mood swings would hit. So, and that kind of evened out. I started feeling more emotional all around. And it was great, big major change and everything. And the doctor, had, doctors, all of them after that said, you need to watch it because you're highly fertile. And I'm like, okay. I was married, okay. And including when I did come back to Texas, my university doctor, she said, I told her about all these things that were going on with me and everything. And by this time I was, 35 or something like that, 36, 35, 36. And she kind of laughed and she said, well, welcome to puberty all over again. And it was like puberty all over again. Imagine that at 35 years old. But it was, I mean, I'd already been through it, of course, when I was young. But that medication just caused it to all start all over again. Of course, this is just what my doctor said about me, and everybody's different, and one size doesn't fit all kind of thing. But it did it for me. And I should go back on this. Whenever I first got on it, I started losing weight really fast. I weighed then and I weigh now less than I did when I was a preteen. And that was one thing that was these doctors kept saying, but they were doing it a little bit backwards, from what I understand, is they were telling me things like, I had a doctor tell me that all my problems were because I didn't have a baby. And yeah, and a lot of people now believe that the problem of not having a baby is because of this, and PCOS and diabetes mixed together. I'm not a doctor, or a healthcare professional or healthcare provider, so I really don't know. So don't take my word on it. But this is what I was told, and these different doctors. Well, when I did go to California, I did see another doctor, and he made a comment about the supplements I was on for hypothyroidism, and told me I didn't have it. And he said, "What was that woman? Was she a witch doctor?" Yeah. So that was my last time. Well, it wasn't my last time on supplements. I did actually read more about PCOS online, and somebody had said to take this certain kind of supplement. I took it, and that almost killed me. So I definitely am one to say, don't follow anything you hear about online, video, written, whatever. Don't do it just because it seems like the right thing to do and everybody's saying they did it, because one size doesn't fit all. I mean, it's important to ask the doctor, your own doctor. That's how I see it. And I didn't back then, so it almost killed me. It was pretty bad. But anyway, a lot of these, things that happened, the changes were just so amazing to me that, I'm really thankful that, between my friend, the women that wrote about it, and seeing that my doctor had already prescribed it, that was important. My doctor had already prescribed it for insulin resistance, but it worked for me. Anyway, I think this is enough to start off with, but I am kind of curious because, I'm older now, and I'm kind of curious if there are other women out there that have gone through this kind of hormone hell. And there was also a show right after that on something like 48 Hours or some show like that about hormone hell. But anyway, I'm wondering if other women have experienced this, with the with the medication and what happens when you get older, because I have not found anybody who has said or anything. Anyway, enough on this for now. Bye.